Good evening and welcome to our show, Going Public. I'm Renee Bosica, and joining us tonight are Mr. Jacob Jennings, a Terrebonne Parish School District talented art teacher, Jasmine Leday, a 12th grade talented art student, and Brylan, Shasta, a 10th grade talented art student. I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight on our show. It is a great honor having you on, and I want to congratulate you two for winning the annual Terrebonne Parish School District Christmas Card Contest. Congratulations, girls.
Thank you so much.
That is a big accomplishment, and we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that after. First off, I have a few questions for you, Mr. Jacob Jennings.
Yes.
Can you please explain to our guests what is the Talented Art Program?
So the Talented Art Program in Terrebonne Parish, I like to think of it like a time for the students to have some more or less private lessons in art. To get into the Talented Art Program, the student would have to produce a portfolio of images ranging from landscapes, still lives, a portrait of their hand, and various other things. And that then is screened through a process through the SBLC program at each individual school. And then the student, if they pass that screening, is moved on to two state evaluators come in the special education building, and then they are put through a series of tests and several drawings. And if those drawings and that test reach a certain amount of points and scores, the student is then accepted into the program where they begin receiving talented art services once a week. And that's when like the private lesson kind of starts coming in. So the students come to us being able to draw already, and we try to kind of like open up their minds and allow them to think about, how am I going to describe how I'm drawing this thing, or just to be able to talk about their art more than they could already before they got into the program.
What is the general age level that students are accepted into the Talented Art Program?
So the Talented Art Program spans from kindergarten to their senior year in high school. We have the most students in the middle school level, and then obviously once they're in the program, they are in the program until they graduate from high school or until they do not want to be in the program anymore, which most students definitely want to stick with the program because they really do enjoy it. The most students that I have right now would be at the middle school level. I have about 20 students that are in the middle school level of the 40 students that I teach during the week.
And what has brought you into the Talented Art Program here in Terrebonne Parish?
Ever since I found out with the program, I went to EDY Catholic High School and graduated in 2008. So we did not have that program when I was there. So the program, the entire existence of the program was not made known to me until 2015. I was actually judging the Bayou Idol contest at Central Lafourche, and someone approached me from the special ed in Lafourche Parish, and they said, we see how you are with these students in front of people. I said, this is something, and they knew me from the past as well. They said, we really think this is something that you'd be really good at, just naturally good at. And they explained to me what the program was, and ever since then I kind of started getting my education together, the certifications and the things that I needed to be a part of the program. I applied, I think a couple times in Lafourche Parish, it just wasn't the right time. This is an amazing job, an amazing kind of career path to go down. So people don't really leave all that often. They tend to get the job and then they retire in the job. So the availability of the job isn't, you don't see that everywhere. So when the job opportunity jumped at me from Terrebonne Parish, I couldn't say no. I applied as an emergency hire 2 years ago, and then was officially hired this past school year, and I couldn't be more happy.
And it sounds like you really enjoy your job.
Absolutely, every single day.
So what has been your favorite part of it?
The thing that aside from obviously getting to see the kids every day and have that private lesson time, that almost one-on-one time with each student, is the fact that as I kind of take a step backwards in retrospect and think, how is this going to be throughout the rest of my career here in Terrebonne Parish, which is hopefully going to be a lengthy one, is to being able to grow with the students that I get to teach every day. So if the student were, let's say I have 2 third graders right now, I'm going to get to follow them until they graduate from high school. What other teaching profession, aside, I'm sure there's a handful of them, but on the top of my head, like an English teacher doesn't get to do that. A math teacher doesn't get to do that. The student will have them in 3rd or 4th grade, and then they'll move on. I will get to stay and be in these students' lives and be their talented art teacher until they graduate from high school. I get to watch them grow into adults, and hopefully get to kind of follow them as they continue on in their careers and their family lives, and say that I was a huge part of their grade school education. And that fills me with joy to see. I've only been here for 2 years, and I've already seen a little bit of that and that growth as people and as artists. So just to continue that for another 5, 10, 20, 30 years, I'm really excited about that.
And I know you talked about your middle school students, but how many students overall do you service?
Right now, I'm servicing 43 students at 6 different schools. Obviously, a few of those things have changed because of the platooning schedules and things for the high schools, but I'm still getting around. My week is very busy, a lot of driving around, but it's very refreshing in knowing that I have these students at these schools, and then an hour later, I'll be in a totally another city at another school, getting to service a whole other age group. It is just very, very refreshing to have that freedom every day to kind of bounce around at the different schools.
And when you assign your students a project, is it something that they do mostly at school, or do they work on these projects at home?
We want to make sure, well, I want to make sure that, sometimes these students, especially when they get into high school, so especially these two, they're very involved in a lot of things extracurricularly and in school as well. So I know that as they get older, a lot of these students will not have the free time at home or at school to develop their projects and kind of like spend the time to do so. So I want to make sure that the projects that I give them, that even if the only time they have to work on them is during our 1-hour session once a week, that it's enough to finish it. And so far, these past 2 years, that's absolutely been so. The majority of my students do take time outside of the class to do that, but I do have a handful that the only time they have is in class, and they do a great job, even with the limited time that we're allowed with them.
And when you pick your projects for your students, what type of projects are they doing?
So the first thing I do at the beginning of every school year, and probably kind of after every break as well, is I kind of assess the students' abilities, their abilities that they come in with, and then as they grow, their interests, the things that they're involved with inside and outside of school, and so that the projects kind of become very individually based. I don't want to do one same project throughout all the 46 students that the 43 students that I teach at several different school levels. The project that a 3rd grader is going to do is not going to be the same project that's going to work for a junior in high school. So I attempt and try my best to tailor make the projects for each individual student. I like to have some very specific things that go into the project while leaving a good portion of it, I like to say between 30 and 40% of the project, able to be open-ended so the students can feel like they can kind of put their own spin onto things. And I feel like that's kind of been working over the past year and a half. I think the projects have been able to challenge them into maybe some things that they're maybe not used to doing. For instance, if a student is interested in a lot of portraiture, I'm going to make sure that there's some part of the project that's going to have some kind of narrative drawing or maybe an object or two in there to really give them a challenge, but also allow them to really strengthen the things that they're already good at.
And what are some of the types of projects that you have students working on currently?
So right now, we're actually working on a project. It's going to be the Key Project, inspired by the Netflix TV show Lock and Key. I watched 2 seasons of it, and just everything that happens in it is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of real life situations mixed with some kind of whimsical things. It's based off of a comic book that came out in 2008. The illustrations in that comic book were beautiful. So I said, I think this is something we can make the kids kind of work towards, so that their project is they have to design a key and give it some abilities and some limitations as well. Once they design their key and make sure that the iconography and the imagery that goes into the actual design of the key makes sense with the capabilities and the abilities that the key has, they will then also design an artist statement in the form of a journal entry that the students will have to figure out either where they found the key and its initial use when they first found their key, like it would be in the real world, or a situation where they've had the key for a while, they know the limitations and the parameters of the key, and they're actively using it. And then after that part of the project is finished, they're going to move into an illustration, very similar to that of what you would see in a comic book. So that's where our students that are more prone to drawing portraiture, things of that nature, will be able to shine. Obviously, the two-dimensional key design is going to be where our students who like to just draw objects and still lives are going to really thrive. And then our students that are storytellers, our students that are extremely bright in English and the written word, get to show their chops and see what they can do, all while being kind of not misled, but in a way that they're writing an informal artist statement. So they're actually learning to talk about their art without even having to think about that, because it's a journal entry. It's a lot of I statements. And so far, the ideas that the students have come with were absolutely amazing. A lot of them are finished, the actual design of the keys so far, and they're getting into that journal entry and that illustration, and their stories have been so great so far.
And how long does a typical project like that take?
So we only meet about once a week, so that there's, between 30, well, this year is going to be a little bit different because of the storm, but about 30, 40, school weeks in the school year. So we will try to do between 4 and 8 completed projects a school year. That's actually part of their IEP. Right now, without the storm, we probably would be just finishing up our second project, about to promote and introduce our third project. So anywhere between 4 to 8 would probably be a normal school year for the Talented Art program.
And then with these projects, do students compile their portfolio for each year, or is it throughout the whole Talented Art program that they are enrolled?
So in their IEP, it's per school year. So their portfolio is going to be the school year. But now that I've started, I come into this kind of job as a professional photographer. So I have been documented all the pieces they've made, and I will then compose a digital portfolio for them from the day in the school year that they start into the program to when they graduate from high school. That's not something I've actually told them yet. It's going to be a surprise, but it's out now. It's okay. So when they graduate from high school, they will be handed over a digital file with every piece that they've ever done in the program. I think that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the joy of seeing where you came from in kindergarten or third grade or fifth grade, and to see them and just to chronicleize their art portfolio is just going to be really exciting.
That does sound really exciting. One of the projects that the district has the students do is create a Christmas card, and then the winners are chosen for the district cards that are sent out to many schools and to the community. Mr. Jennings, how did this Christmas card idea come about?
So, to what I'm told, the superintendents, both superintendent and assistant superintendent, they asked really one big thing from our program every year, which is the Christmas card contest. So the students are, at the very beginning of November, the students are informed about this, so we have a few weeks to work on the project to dedicate to it. I like to approach the project in the following way. I like to approach it as the superintendents have approached professional artists to produce a Christmas card, but they're not going to tell them what they want specifically. So it kind of leaves the project up to the individual students. So we like to break it down and say, first, let's learn who our client is. So we talk about, these are family people. These are people with children, and maybe they have pets at home. So we like to think about who the client is, and then, what do you think someone of that age and that profession would want in a Christmas card? We've looked at Christmas cards that have been successful in the past and say, what are some things we can learn from this? And the kids, they come through every year with some amazing cards. We have some cards kind of going through. We have all ranges from our third grade students all the way to our senior students, and you're going to see a few of those here tonight. The cards that were chosen this year, well, of course, we had a little bit less time than usual because of the storm, but the students still came through and produced some beautiful cards this year.
And then I know we talked about at the beginning, who judges the cards, and then who picks which card?
So I like to inform the students. I'm very upfront with the students in the processes of things. So it's to my understanding that we turn our cards into the secretary of the supervisor of special education. She will look through the cards first and make sure the cards are you're capable of being successful, and then they go into the hands of the supervisor of special education, Dr. Monica Bro. She then looks at the cards, and they pass her inspection. They are sent to the secretaries of the superintendents. If they pass their inspection as well, they are sent to the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, where they each individually choose their own card that will represent themselves as they send it out to all of the other administrators throughout the school parish.
So this year, we have 2 winners with us. We have Miss Jasmine Leday and Miss Brylan Shasta. Jasmine, you are a senior at South Terrebonne High School, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of art are you interested in making right now?
Well, I'm actually looking at a broad range of things. I like different things from film to digital art to traditional still. I do that too. I do painting and all that, but I really like to look towards other artists and use inspiration from them and develop my own type of style with things. And I like basically like comic art, caricature, different styles and stuff, and just anything that I can use to build upon and work creatively in my own way.
And how has the Talented Art program benefited you as a student?
Well, it's let me take time away from home and my regular studies and be able to make a space where I can feel free to work independently and create my own ideas that are very stress-free, and I'm able to work a lot better.
And when you graduate from high school, what are your future aspirations?
Well, I plan on going to college, and I want to get a bachelor's degree in digital media so I can have a range of things to choose from when I graduate, and I can go into many different companies and businesses where they can basically choose me and tell me how they want me to create their work, maybe like graphic design or companies like Disney, even big companies, and work on films and movies and projects.
And we're going to go ahead and look at your Christmas card shortly. What did you enjoy the most about designing your card?
Oh, for my card, I love that I used color pencils for this one because you can get a lot of shading and a lot of different ranges of colors and details in there.
What was the inspiration behind your card this year?
Well, I feel like everybody loves Christmas because of the mood that it sets for love and family and just togetherness. And I thought that a puppy would be great for that because what better gift than something that you can use with your family and share your love with.
And I know for this particular design, you mentioned the pencil colors. What other media do you like to use in your arts?
Different ranges of things from acrylics to watercolors. I really like to explore into everything that I can to develop my skills. Sometimes I use just plain pencil or graphite, charcoal, really anything.
And so far throughout your years in the Talented Art program, what has been your favorite project?
Oh, my favorite projects? That would have to be where pretty much anyone that he gives us creative freedom for.
Oh.
Yeah, where I can just pick what I want to do and make him proud about it.
Aw. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and your Christmas card is really nice. I can't wait to go into the schools and actually see them on the wall.
Thank you.
Also with us is 10th grader Brylan Shasta from South Terrebonne High School as well. Congratulations, Brylan.
Thank you so much.
How long have you been in the Talented Art program?
I have been in it since the end of my 4th grade year. Yes.
And then what has been your inspiration throughout your Talented Art years?
Throughout my years, I've seen like many different artists, many different people, just different elements, like even my upperclassmen like you here. And just seeing like those different types of work influences how mine ends up, because each time you see a new piece of art or a new form, you pick up those little things out of it, and it always gets integrated into your own art, whether you realize it or not. But all those different things just all go together somehow for you to make it like specific for you and what art you do. And it's so cool just seeing everybody and everything every year.
We're going to go ahead and look at your Christmas card design shortly. And can you tell us what inspired you with your design?
When I was little, they had a story called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And I remember they had all these different types of it. They had a Christmas one, and I'm like, well, that's just perfect for this. You have this old saying, 'twas the night before Christmas, and I feel like you had said earlier, you had to think about what kind of people these, like the superintendent and all are around. They have families and kids and everything. Kids are always drawn to animals, whether they want to say it or not. And I just think that the small little mouse symbolizes a child in a kind of in particular way, where it just shows them being in a relaxed environment around the holidays when you spend time with your family and you put up a Christmas tree. And I just think it's so perfect.
And what type of media did you use in your card?
In my card, I used pencil colors, but in a lighter form than you have. And for mine, I used it in a way that it would be a lot lighter because, well, in this setting, you just kind of need something that, like, the lightness of it kind of symbolizes the lift off your chest that you usually get at Christmas time, where everything just feels so relaxed and calm, and you feel so at home with everybody around you. And I just thought that that could have been the perfect media for it.
And your other forms of art, how do you reflect your personality in your work?
Well, for my personality, I like to think that I'm a lot more fun. So in my art, I try to add those goofy kind of elements, like with the mouse. It's not your typical Christmas thing. So in my art, I try to implement certain things like that, like in a comic book style. That is one of my go-tos if I have to pick something. And it usually, I love it.
You love art. You can tell that you do love art. What are your plans once you graduate from school? Do you plan to incorporate the arts into whatever field you choose?
I do, actually. I've had this dream for a while, and I wanted to become a zoologist. And in that kind of field, you have to know how to draw these different types of animals and their anatomy for, like, your notes and everything, and, like, sharing it with all the other people in your group and all. So I feel like my experience in the Talented Art program really could help me through in that kind of setting in that workplace.
And before the show ends, what type of advice would you give to any students who may be interested in joining the Talented Art program?
Definitely do it. It is so worth it, and it may seem super duper scary, but I can promise you it's really not as scary as it sounds. And your teachers definitely help you along the way. Like, they are your biggest supporters through all of it.
And Jasmine, do you have any advice that you would give to students who may want to enter the Talented Art program?
I would just say that you can feel free to be yourself. You don't have to try to be the best kind of artist there is or try to make yourself out to be anything other than yourself, because there's people that's going to be there to support you.
Well, it looks like our time is up tonight. I want to thank you both, well, actually all three of you, for joining us tonight. Your cards were astonishing. I loved looking at the cards and hearing the stories behind them. So thank you and congratulations once again to you all. And I would like to thank you, our viewers, for watching. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday on Going Public. Good night.